Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome back to another day of learning a new stitch. So today what I have for you is this little lovely stitch that's called the mixed cluster stitch, and it's made up of joining a double crochet to a puff stitch. Now it makes a very nice, as you can see, dense textile. Now of course if you were to go a hook size or two, it would make a very nice open lacy fabric, but I have chosen to demonstrate with you a 4-weight, which is also called an Aran weight, and a size A hook, which we will get into in just a moment. But it is a very easy pattern. It's made up of an even number of stitches, and there's just so many things that you can do with this. I see this as a nice covering for a hat bag or a pillow, like if you wanted to make a lining, to stuff a pillow with. I see it as a beautiful cardigan, maybe even just on a sleeve of a cardigan. Makes a nice edging for a plain sweater. There's just so many things you can do with this. So I hope that you will grab yourself some yarn and a hook that goes with the yarn. This is just for practice. Unless, of course, you like the stitch, and then no telling what you can do with it, right? So, in just a moment, we're going to get started on this. But before we do, let me say thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate your patronage. All I ask is that you be sure and hit that like button. And at the end of the tutorial, I hope that you have a pretty good idea as to what you think you might do with this stitch. And if you do, please leave me a comment because I really would like to hear your ideas. So, if this is your first time here, let me say a special welcome to you. I do hope that you will hit that subscribe button, and also look for the bell that has those cute little hugs on the side, because it'll let you know every time I upload content, especially if you're looking to see tutorials on some stitches that maybe you hadn't seen before. So grab yourself some yarn and a hook, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Alright, now as I said, I'm going to be using a 4-weight. The yarn that I will be working with today is just it's just a small ball left from a yarn that I bought from Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, and yes, I do love their house brand. I love this yarn. So as you can see, it's a very pretty little blue, and I do like that. So we're going to get started with, as I said, using some 4-weight. You can use whatever weight yarn you wish to use. Just be sure that for the practice that you use the recommended hook size, so you can kind of see what that stitch is going to do with the yarn you'll be playing with today. I am also, you can't see it very well, and I do apologize, but this is a streamlined metal hook from Furls. The size I will be using with this yarn is a 5.5 millimeter or a letter I hook. Now you will find a link, an affiliate link that I have with Furls down in the description box. So if you love furl accessories as much as I do, and you're contemplating making a purchase here in the near future, please pick up my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does give me a few pennies, and it helps out for things that I like to do here on the channel for my subscribers. So let's get started. Now all you have to do is whatever version that you like to use for putting a slip knot on your hook, and there are many different ways out there to do that. Now, as I said in the beginning, we're going to be working with an even number of chains. So I'm going to chain 24 to give you a nice look at working with this stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'm having trouble pulling my yarn. Let's see, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, And I'm going to stop just a minute just to make sure, since I had a little bit of a snag there with the yarn. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. Alright, we're good. Now this first row that we're going to work back into our chain is just a row of single crochets. So without counting this loop on our hook, because remember, your loop on your hook is just your working yarn, you don't count that. We're going to start in the second chain from the hook, so there's 1, 2. Now there's 2 options. You can either work right back into the chain if you prefer, but I like to rotate my chain over and work in the back bump here. I feel like that it gives a very nice clean edge to my project, and so that's where I'll be working, but like I said, you don't have to do that. I know for some folks it's a little finagly and they just don't like doing that. So here we go. Remember, a single crochet is our simplest stitch, so we work into the chain by pulling up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 when you don't split your yarn. There we go. Into the next one. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way down the chain. And I do suggest, folks, that you take your time, because it just, I'm not one who likes to see how fast I can crochet. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if speed is your thing, then that's good, so long as your stitches stay consistent and it doesn't make your project wonky. And see what I'm talking about here? Many people don't like working in the back bump because sometimes it's just a little hard to snag that critter. But I think it's well worth it by the time I get to the end of the row. And no matter whether you work in the back bump or you work through the middle of the chain, you're going to see that this very first row is going to have a tendency to want to curl up on you. And that's okay. I mean, when you do your chain and then you start working back in the chain, what you may not realize is your chain was developed with a different tension than what you're crocheting now. So if it starts doing that and it bothers you, just take a few moments and straighten her out. And you may have to do it a couple of times as you're working back through the chain here. Put a little lotion on my hand before I got started, and now the yarn is wanting to stick to it. Because I tell you what, folks, the weather turned chilly here the last couple of days, and going in and out and in and out, and of course as many times as we wash our hands throughout the day for one reason or another, my hands have dried out very quickly. So it seems like I wash my hands and immediately have to put on lotion. Again, you can see it's still trying to curl up a little bit, so just, there you go. See how she's just straightened right out? Now, no matter how many even number of chains you work, by working back into that second chain for the hook, you're going to have one less than the number of chains that you pulled up. Alright, I'm coming here to the end, and I'm going to work my last single crochet here. And before we move on, I want to show you why I love working in the back loop. So here is the single crochets, and as you can see when I look here at the bottom of the chain, see how nice that edge is there? Which makes it really nice if you're going to attach this to another panel, or it's on a sleeve edge or a blanket edge, whatever. Maybe you want to add some fringe, it doesn't matter, but it gives a nice clean edge here. And to me, it's also a little more polished. You don't have those little single loops hanging down there like it does normal with just working through the chain. But it's everybody's preference. It's not a requirement that you do that. Alright, so I have chained one and I'm getting ready to do my work. Now, this row of single crochets is the first of a 2-row repeat. So we will be using single crochets to create a row to separate out where we're actually working the mixed cluster stitch. So, working right back into this very first stitch here, we are going to do a half double crochet. Now, I didn't describe to you how to do that, so let me pull that stitch out and do it again. This is for those of you that are maybe just getting started crocheting, and I have to keep that in mind sometimes when I'm doing these tutorials. So a half double crochet, put a loop on your hook, go right back into that first stitch and pull up a loop. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and go back through all 3. Now, as I described to you in the beginning when I was showing you the swatch, the mixed cluster is made up of using the double crochet and a puff stitch. So how we're going to do that is first we're going to work right back in to this stitch here that we just put our half double crochet in. So I'm going to yarn over, go back into that stitch and pull up a loop. There's 3 loops on my hook. Now this, we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Now, if I wanted to do a double crochet, I would finish out by yarning over and pulling through 2, but I'm not ready to close the double crochet up yet because I want to make the puff that's going to be attached to this double crochet. So in order to do that, I'm going to yarn over, skip the next stitch, and in this next stitch is where I'm going to put my puff. So I'm going to go right in there, pull up a loop, I'm going to yarn over and do the same thing again. Go in there, pull up a loop. I now have 6 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 6, and then I'm going to lock that stitch in place with a chain. Now don't get real tight there with that chain because you're going to have to work back into that chain when we come back across. So we're going to do that again. We're going to yarn over, go right back into this stitch that we just worked in. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to yarn over, skip the next stitch, and in this stitch we're going to put our little puff. So we're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, go back in, pull up a loop. I now have 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 6, and then again lock it down with a chain, but notice I'm keeping it about the same size as my stitches. Let's do that again. Yarn over, go back into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, skip a stitch, make my puff, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, do that one more time, 6 loops again, yarn over and pull through all 6, and again lock it down. Now you will find that as you're working this, you're going to develop yourself a little rhythm. Yarn over, go back into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, do that again, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, 6 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 6, and again lock it down with a chain. See your little cluster stitches here showing are starting to develop. Here is my double crochet in my puff, my double crochet in my puff, my double crochet in my puff. So we're just going to continue down to the end of the row. There is my double crochet, skip a stitch, finish off with my puff, yarn over, pull through, lock it down with my chain. Do that again. We're just going to keep doing this all the way to the end of the row here. And I'll show you while we're going to finish off this row here in just a minute when we get down there. Now make sure whenever you're pulling through here that you don't pull up any strands from any of the loops that are on your hook there, because that can happen. Skip. Doing my little puff. And I can't tell you how hard it is for me in making this puff for me not to make a bobble. I don't know why, but it always tends to happen with me. Skip. Making my little puff here. Yarning over, pulling through, locking down my stitch again. Skip. Make my little puff. Lock it down. Skip. Make the puff. Yarn over. Chain. And you notice we have 2 stitches left. Well, we're still going to make one more mixed cluster stitch here. So yarn over. Start your double crochet. Yarn over, skip, and in this last stitch here we're going to make our little puff. Pull up a loop and pull through all 6 loops. Now, we're not going to chain here at the end. Remember at the very beginning we started with a half double crochet? Well, we're going to end with a half double crochet by going right back into this stitch that we just worked. Do not chain. Pull up a loop and finish off with your half double crochet. So that is our second row repeat for this pattern. Now I'm going to come back here across the top and I'm going to make sure I still have 23 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 1, 2, 3. And we do. So as I told you, this is a 2-row repeat. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and the first row of the 2-row repeat is just single crochet. So we're going right back into this first stitch, which was our half double crochet, and make our single crochet. Single crochet all the way back. Now here is that chain, and see, I want it to be very easy for me to go right in there and make my single crochet. There's the stitch, there's the chain, there's the stitch, and there's the chain. So again, we're going to do this all the way back down, and since we're not skipping or adding any chains, there's a chain. Now see, that one there got a little tight on me and I shouldn't have done that, but I can still work in there. There's my stitch, there's my chain, there's my stitch, there's my chain, it just makes it so much easier so that you don't have to fight. Make your fabric pucker that you're developing here. Coming down here to the end. Alright, now that's the first row of our 2-row repeat. See how she's coming along? Very, very pretty. We're going to turn our work and we're going to start with another row of our cluster stitch. So working right back into this very first stitch here, we're going to make a half double crochet. Then we're going to yarn over, go right back into that stitch like before, start our double crochet, yarn over, skip, go into the next stitch, and work our little puff stitch. Yarn over, close her down, and remember, try to make your chain the same size as your stitch head. And we're just going right along now. Skip, make my little puff, close with a chain, go right back in, start my double crochet, yarn over and skip, go back into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop twice, and we just keep rocking right along. As I said, I could see this as a great baby blanket pattern. I like it because even though it's made up of loops, so to speak, they're not so open that you have to worry about babies getting their fingers or little toes caught in it. It's also dense enough if you use the recommended hook size for your yarn that it's going to make a nice warm cardigan, a hat. If you were to go up a hook size, like I said, it would soften your stitches to the point where you could make a beautiful scarf, maybe a wrap. And as you can see, after you've done at least one row, possibly even before you get finished with that first row, you can develop yourself a little rhythm going there. And by taking it slow, folks, you give your muscles and your fingers an opportunity to learn the stitch itself. Skip, and again we have 2 stitches left. We're still going to build one more mixed cluster, and this time remember, we're not going to lock it down with a chain. We're going to lock it in by ending the row with a half double crochet, because that is how we started the row. Very, very pretty stitch. This is your right side. Now the back side, folks, doesn't look too bad either. You can see that there, but I really, really like the front side. Now if you use this pattern, I would suggest that rather than stopping after the second row repeat, that you go ahead and chain 1 and put in a row of single crochets. It'll give it a nice clean edge. It'll also help it to look the same as the edge you started with, which I like symmetry, folks. And what that means is I like for my starting and my ending to look the same as much as possible. Now sometimes it's not going to happen that way, just because of whatever it is you're designing or whatever the designer had in mind, but that's okay too. But for this little swatch purpose, we're going to go ahead and finish it off with a row of pretty single crochets. And here we are at the end. Oh, there's knot in my yarn. That's okay. I'm just going to work her right in there because it is just a swatch. Alright. There you go. As I said, it makes a very nice little design there. I do hope that you enjoy this. Now, there is a reason why I chose to do this stitch tutorial for you today, because in a couple of days you are going to need to know how to do this stitch, because I have a very cute little hat pattern that I chose to make using this very same stitch, the multi-cluster stitch. So I do hope that you take a little bit of time to practice it, so that when you do see the tutorial for that hat drop, you'll already know how to do it and you'll be ready to create for you a hat. Again, thank you all so much for joining me. I always appreciate your patronage. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Do you like the stitch? If you do, what ideas were going through your mind as to where you might find yourself using this stitch? And again, if this was your first time here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Look for the bell with those cute little hugs on the side, because it'll let you know every time I drop tutorials for stitches, for content on patterns of my own, book reviews, just all things yarny related. As always, folks, please be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, could be your light that they need to see. I'll catch you next week with another stitch tutorial. Bye.